Hello everyone, and welcome back to Julie's Kitchen. And today we are going to make a quiche. And to start off, I'm going to show you how I make my pie crust. To start off, we have flour here. This is about 3 cups of flour. And we're going to use a dash of salt. Put that in. We're going to use 1 egg, and believe it or not, vinegar. And of course, our fat. It calls for a cup of shortening. Today we're having a bit of a blizzard, so I'm going to improvise. I was running a little short, so it also has a little butter in it to top it off. So it has maybe about a 1/4 cup of butter, but I generally use all shortening. So you're going to measure out your shortening. And a little trick what I did is, a lot of times to help the shortening come out, is before I put the shortening in the cup, I would spray it with the spray, and it helps it to slide out much better. And you see how that just came right out. Another trick you could use is, if you have an egg, crack the egg in your measuring cup, swirl around a bit, take the egg, put it in something else, take it out, dump it out, and then measure your shortening, and that also will help the shortening to release a lot easier. Just a couple little tricks. So if you're baking and cooking, it helps make things a little bit easier. So I'm going to add the shortening with the salt to the flour. And what I want to do now is I want to cut it in so we're just cutting this in, and what we want to look for and how we want this to turn out is we want the shortening to be about the size of a pea. So we really want to incorporate it into the flour and break it up. This way it's evenly distributed. Okay, so now we're ready, and you can see everything has been incorporated together. The shortening and the flour and that little bit of dash of salt. So I'm going to just clean this off here. We won't need this no more. The next thing we want to do is we want to add 1 egg. And I'm going to put it in this dish here because I want to beat it a little bit. Put my hands here. Okay. It also calls for 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and you're going to say, vinegar? Why vinegar? I don't know. This is my mom's recipe. It always worked for me, so I stick with it. But it does tend to make the pastry always comes out nice and flaky, and that's all that matters to me. So for me, if it works, I don't change it. Okay, and you also want to use 1/3 cup of really cold water, cold tap water. And it all looks like it's mixed up good. Then we just want to add it to our flour and shortening. Okay, and then you just want to gently mix this up. You don't want to overwork your dough, because then it's not going to be flaky. And get it all mixed up, and then we're going to go in there with our hands and mix it up some more. But this is it for now. Okay, so now it's mixed up well with the forks. Now we're just going to take some and go in here with our hands, and let's try to form the dough together. I just want to take out enough to make 1 pie crust. You don't want to keep handling the dough because it will tend to overwork it. So just want enough what I think would be enough for a single pie crust. Okay, that looks about right. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. So then you just want to put flour on your board. I'm going to use my marble rolling pin. This was a gift from my grandmother, so I really treasure it. It weighs a ton, but it's great for rolling out pie crust. Okay, so now we're going to put the pie crust into my pie plate. And if you roll it up like this, it makes it a little bit easier to roll it out. And one thing about pie crust, it's very forgiving. So if you have a little tear, you can take and work with it back together. You want to roll it out to, I guess it's about 1/8 of an inch thickness. And I just want to trim it. Okay. Now I just like to roll it under a tad bit. Before I go around, and then I'm just going to flute it. Okay, and the way I like to do it is you take your 2 fingers and just press your thumb in between. I can't say. Just take your 3 fingers and you want to grab the pie crust and just crimp it. Okay, and there you go. Pie crust is all ready. We're going to put this in the oven and let it bake for a few minutes. But I'm going to get the other one ready and then I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so we're back and now I got both my pie crusts rolled out. And what I want to do, I want to pre-bake them because I want to, when I make the quiche, I want to put them in a hot crust. And what I like to do, I like to just prick it just a little bit. I don't want to do it a lot, but it does help with the shrinking. I don't want to do the bottom because I don't want the quiche to leak out, but just enough of the sides. You can also line it with foil, but it's not really going to be in that long, so I don't think it's going to be much of an issue to do all that. Okay, I'm going to put this in an oven, a 400-degree oven, for like 5-10 minutes, and then take it out. So here we have 8 eggs, 8 whole eggs, and some broccoli that's been defrosted and chopped up. We have about 3 cups of cheese. There's sharp cheddar cheese and some mozzarella, and they're blended. I have some Parmesan cheese I'm going to use. Sausage that we browned and drained, and a few pieces of bacon because I'm going to throw it in because why not. And then we have here a cup of, not quite a cup, it's about, I guess, almost 1 3/4 cup of milk and light cream together. And salt. So I'm just going to add a pinch of salt. And I want to beat these up. Okay, that's good. So now I'm just going to start adding our ingredients. So I'm going to add the broccoli. The bacon, I have 3 pieces. I'm just going to crumble them up. We had bacon this morning for breakfast, so I'm just going to use it up. I'm going to add our sausage. And even though it was drained, it was a good idea I put a paper towel underneath that because there was still a lot of grease that we do not want in our quiche. Just let me mix this up a little bit before I add the rest of the ingredients. So let's add Parmesan cheese. And then our cheese blend that we have here. I want to get it all mixed up really good before I start adding the milk and the light cream. I'm going to play it by ear. We might need to add a little bit more light cream. Usually it's a cup of milk and a cup of light cream, but with all the filling in there, I wasn't sure how much, so we're going to play it by ear. So we did a cup and 3/4, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are. These have been pre-baked. I took them out of the oven, and they have like the consistency, how done I would like them to be. and they're nice and hot, so that's when we want to add our filling. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first scoop some of this in there, just so that I can make sure they get. Okay, and there they are. Now we're going to put them in the oven. I put a cookie sheet underneath them just in case they spill, but it makes it easier to put in the oven too. Alright, so now they've cooled for about 10 minutes, so I'm just going to cut this. Cut a piece here so you guys can see this. And to see how it's crust is nice and flaky. That's what it looks like. So put this on here. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to take a bite. It's a little hot still. The crust is nice and crisp, flaky, staying together very nicely, not soggy at all. The broccoli gives it a nice crunch, nice and eggy, creamy. You can really taste the cheese, and the sausage really gives it a nice flavor. I think this is all came together very nicely, and I think you're all going to enjoy this. So I hope you give it a try. Let me know what you think.